Go ahead. All right, I'm Hailey Stamper, and my narrator is Dustin Thomas. We're in the Ruth Patrick Center, and it's March the 7th, 2019. So first off, when and where were you born?
I was born in 1980, April 30th, at Shelbyville, Tennessee Hospital.
Okay, did you spend any time there?
No, I only lived in Shelbyville, Tennessee for about 6 months.
So have you ever been back?
No.
You ever plan to?
I'd like to see it one day, but I don't have anything that draws me to it.
Fair enough. So you said that your hometown was in Georgia, but you put 3 different ones.
I moved around a lot.
Are they all kind of close?
Well, Dublin and Macon are very close. They're about an hour apart from each other. My father worked at hospitals, and we kind of bounced from hospital to hospital. But Dublin, then Macon, Georgia, where my mom still lives, and then I moved with my father to LJ, Georgia.
And you went to high school in Evans?
Yes.
So when did you live in the different areas?
So elementary school from first grade to Dublin, was Dublin, and then I went to second and third in Macon, Georgia, all the way up to 7th grade, and then transferred to LJ. So LJ, Georgia, I lived there from 94 to 95, 96 time frame, and then moved to Augusta.
And you said you went to Greenbrier High School.
Correct.
Did you do any extracurricular activities or play sports?
I was in the band, played percussion, and so I did a lot of marching band stuff, but other than that, I was really just kind of chill.
Yeah, I play clarinet. I
Oh,
like
yeah.
drums better.
Oh, yeah.
So were any of your family members in the military?
My father and my brother. My dad was in the Navy during Vietnam, and then my brother's still in the Air Force. He's been in for 23 years at this point.
You think that had any effect on your decision?
Absolutely. I had actually was coming up to graduation, didn't have a plan, and my brother was doing really well for himself with the military, and so I kind of looked into that path because I didn't really have guidance to do anything else.
So he's your older brother?
He is. He's 9 years older than I am.
So was he glad that you wanted to join though?
He was, but he was very apprehensive because he had had some bumps along the way that where he had to actually move from different career fields and everything like that to stay somewhere that took care of him, and he was afraid that I was going to get into a bad career field and something that took advantage of me.
That's a fair fear though.
Yeah.
So
I didn't listen to him.
No, of course
No,
not.
I listened to the recruiter. Like
Well,
every
yeah,
other
nobody
dumbass.
listens to their brother anyway.
Yeah.
So you were inducted in '99 in Columbia.
Hmm.
Was that just the closest place?
Yes, for the Air Force, at the time, Augusta, I spoke with my recruiter here, or in Augusta, Georgia, and the closest you had to go for MEPS was Columbia, South Carolina. So I went there for my initial testing and everything, and then that's also, once you get in, that's where they do your oath and send you to basic training from there.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Mm.
And you
I think
did-
it's changed a little bit. It's still Columbia, I believe, is the closest area that they file everybody.
You said you did basic training in Texas.
Yes, in San Antonio at Lackland Air Force Base.
So how was that?
It was nice. I was warned beforehand about not going during the summer because it's Texas, and then also the extreme cold during the winter.
Yeah.
And so I chose October. And it was, at the time, basic was only 6 weeks, so it was kind of the easier way to go.
Yeah, that's not that
But,
bad.
I mean, it was still sucked. I mean, there was right outside the fence was all the fast food. You could see it and everything. So
But you couldn't get to it.
yeah, exactly.
So had you been in Texas before?
At the time, no.
Did you like it?
As much as I saw of it, with being, actually I joined the band for the Air Force as well, and I was able to march down, like we did different parades and stuff during basic training while everybody else was stuck on base and they couldn't leave. We actually got to go and do parades, which, I mean, it was like basic outside of the base, so we did get to see the area, but we still got yelled at and all that.
So you were in the band, but did you travel?
Just
Like
for that.
outside of Texas?
It wasn't the full Air Force band, it was just the basic training band.
Okay.
So I played during that period while I was in, and also for graduation of basic training.
So did you keep contact with your family while you were in basic
Oh
training?
yes, it's a require. I mean, I won't say it's required, but really it makes it easier to touch base. I mean, there's those phone calls that are really hard to get some information. People going on with their lives without you. My dad got divorced while I was gone. I mean, there's a lot of things that happened, but it was just still, I was going through this really intense experience for myself. And I mean, they all tell you right when you go up to the phone for the first time, they're like, try not to cry. And you're like, come on, I'm not going to cry. Then you talk to your mom, and you're like, you know,
Right.
yeah, so it's just, yeah, I mean, it's a situation where you're not experienced in it.
But talking to them helped.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So, what was your best and your worst experience in basic training?
Best experience was really just kind of my brother gave me a lot of advice about keeping my head down, don't volunteer for stuff, and really that was very sound advice because I was always flying below the radar, not getting in trouble because people couldn't shut their mouth and stuff like that. So I think that was kind of my best experience because it kept me out of a lot of trouble. But worst experience by far was when that kind of came crashing down and they stopped me on the very last week before graduation, and I got in a lot of trouble and cussed at. Just when it finally caught up with me.
So, you said your dad was in the Navy.
Yes.
Did your brother being in the Air Force help to push you towards that, or did you just want to be in the Air Force?
Well, I was always interested in airplanes, and never mind the fact that Air Force has less planes than the Navy, but I didn't really think about that too much. But I just wanted to work with aircraft, and my brother being who he is, he was always kind of my hero, and so I had real current information from the Air Force where my dad was in the Navy back in the 70s, and it was like, that's old Navy, and
So your job, you said, was the 20th EMS. What is it? Like, what exactly does that mean?
The 20th EMS is a squadron. EMS stands for Equipment Maintenance Squadron. And basically, when the aircraft are on the ground, they use support systems, generators and hydraulic pumps and things like that. And my job was to repair those and keep them maintained. But it's just how they keep everything running without having a big problem. And, it's very cost preventative to run the engines while they're on the ground. So they use all those generators and stuff.
So you had to have more training for that?
Oh, yes. 6 months of grueling training.
So how was that different from basic training?
Well, basic is basically, they're basically tearing you down from the person and your ego that you've had growing up and being from your home lifestyle and being the trainable person that they want you to be in the military. And so they want to be able to give you information and you take it in and use it properly. And at that point, when they decide that amount of time kind of prepares you for that and teaches you the basic stuff of the command structure and things like that, then they send you off to your training for your job because there's so many different jobs. I mean, there's cooks and plumbers and all that stuff, so everybody has to have different levels of training.
So you said you served in Shaw, which is in South Carolina. Was that the first time you'd been to South Carolina, or had you been before?
No, I mean, living in Augusta and Evans area, I went to South Carolina a few times, but it's the first time I ever went to Shaw. I mean, Sumter, South Carolina is not really the biggest place to go, and I mean, I like aircraft, but I can go other places to see those. But
did you like being there?
It was okay. Really, being that close to Columbia made it okay because I lived on base for a little while, then I moved off, but it was only 30 minutes to Columbia, and where Sumter doesn't have a lot going for it, Columbia has so much more. And it's
right, so you could at least do something.
Exactly, and I was only 2 hours away from home too, so I could come back and visit my high school friends and stuff.
So you could see your family more often too?
I did. I mean, there was very few family left here once I came back because they kind of dispersed, but I still came back as often as I could.
And you said you were deployed?
Yes, after September 11th.
To Saudi Arabia? Is that what that is?
Yes, at Prince Sultan Air Base. My whole squadron was tasked with support of missions over there right after September 11th. So with that support, you have to have the people that keep the aircraft maintained.
So what was that like?
It was intense. Everybody had the gung-ho attitude of, you come into our country and do this stuff, so we need to go and inflict damage and stuff. But really, my job was a support person. So, I mean, I was a mechanic. So I would sit in the back working on my equipment while jets left with bombs and missiles and stuff and didn't come back with them. So, I mean, I knew I was part of the mission, but you don't see stuff really.
So you didn't really personally see combat?
Correct. Yeah.
You were there, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the biggest combat I saw was camel spiders and lizards and stuff. So.
Yeah, bad enough.
Yeah.
So what were the living conditions like?
Actually, in PSAB, Prince Sultan Air Base, there's a college campus that we built for them that is no longer used anymore. So it's like college dorms. That it's not near the flight line. It's many miles away. It's about a 45-minute drive. Mm. But you go from these dorms and there's 4 people sleeping in a room to, you have these little TVs, but there's only like 3 channels. And then you get on a bus and you ride for 45 minutes and you go to work. But it was leave at dark and come home at dark. so you don't really see much.
So what do you think the best part of being deployed was?
Really the camaraderie and the feeling that you're not just exercising something. There was all the time of being in the military that we were preparing. We were always doing some kind of test, or somebody wanted to see if we could do our job properly. But when it came down to it, actually being able to experience I do this, and this is where it fits in the puzzle, and the puzzle gets this plane on target and does what it's supposed to do. And, so you kind of feel like, well, this is what I've been training for.
Right. So you were a senior airman when you left.
Correct.
And about, how would you say that is, like level-wise?
Well, there's, in the enlisted structure, you have E1 through E9. So I was an E4, and that's how it translates across the services. But at the time, I'd actually had some trouble kind of getting used to the military, so I didn't go up in rank as fast as some people do. But E4 was about, that's where you end up about third year in.
So what responsibilities does that come with compared to like an E1?
It's where really, with an Air Force situation, there's airmen before you become an NCO, and it's your last position before you become an NCO, non-commissioned officer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you start getting to be in charge of people. So really, you're kind of the first person to give out tasks. So the NCO tells you something to do, and then you have the other airmen do it. So you're kind of the top of the airmen.
I got you. Kind of like a manager, sort of.
Yeah, like a lower level manager, but really with no power.
So you liked your job, though, in the Air Force working on planes?
I liked being part of it. I liked seeing the aircraft go up and knowing that I had something to do with it. There was a lot of negative stuff. I didn't like getting calls in the middle of the night and telling me I had to be at work, or go here or go there, not somewhere that I actually want to go. But there was a lot of cool things about it. So I got to travel a good bit. Went to Vegas a bunch of times. That's where you do a lot of experience, they call red flag training, and you go out there with aircraft and you play war with other countries. And so that's pretty cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you left in 2004, though.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you leave?
Well, I'd signed up for a 6-year enlistment, which wouldn't have been done at that point. But they were restructuring the Air Force. They had decided at that point they didn't need all the people they had. And so the first thing they offered, what they were going to do was take everybody who had been in trouble and make it harder for them to stay. So anybody who had trouble with following regulations and stuff. I wasn't part of that, but the next step was they asked for people who wanted to get out. And at that point, I'd become a little bit jaded, being stuck at Shaw and just personal stuff with my previous marriage and things like that, and I was just ready to be out. And so when they asked for volunteers, I volunteered, and it was a long process. It still took 4 months for them to say, okay, we're going to let you out of the military. But it was just an early way to get out.
So would you say you regret leaving early, or no?
There are times that I do. I would actually be retiring from the Air Force this year. And so that part really bothers me, because I have friends that stayed in, and they've traveled a good bit, and they've done a lot of things. But in October of this year, they're actually retiring and starting another career. And that really bothers me. So yeah. But there's a lot of negative things about it that I don't miss. And so I find that my memory tends to hold on to the things that I was fond of. The experiences that I really enjoyed, instead of having these things that I was cussing about every day, or just ready to quit. In the civilian world where you just walk away from a job, you can't do that, or you go to jail. So there's a lot of negative too.
So what would you say the transition from military to civilian life was like?
It was very scary. Because the military is set up for taking care of people, and it's not that that's their task, but they depend on those people, so they take care of everything. You have your medical, your housing, all that stuff is just provided. And so they have this process to help you transition back into civilian life. But even at that, it's kind of lacking, and because there's just no way to get that complete experience without them providing you with a job and providing you with a place to go. So a lot of times people come home and they end up moving back in with their parents. Or, they, even if they're married, like my ex-wife and I, we moved in with her parents. And we were living in her old bedroom with all of our stuff in their garage. And I was 24 years old living with my in-laws, and it was just, not the experience that I was looking for. And I struggled for a while to find a career or a job that would actually support me. And I'm actually here back in school trying to actually get my real career going. But I just kind of bumbled along until things would fit into place. And I actually became a technician and worked on cars for a long time, and did stuff that was very hard on my body.
So, do you think the most difficult part of transitioning back has been the whole job issue, or just kind of in general, the fact that you kind of feel lost because everything's not provided for you?
Honestly, I think it reaches into more aspects of life, with relationships, because many people get married early. That's what I did. And I don't blame the military, but it just kind of breeds that mentality. Everybody's doing it around you, so you kind of want to lock onto somebody that, you have friends that are coming and going always. And so you want somebody that's there with you. And yeah, this person's gone, but your wife or your husband is there with you. And so that kind of mentality ends up getting people rushed into relationships, and also financial reasons and stuff. So there's that portion of it, because that comes crashing down whenever you get out of the military. There's that aspect that's pretty horrible. They do try to get you along with education, with preparing you with the GI Bill and things like that. But even that becomes hard, because I'm currently using benefits for education, and it doesn't cover life. It covers some of the education, and even now it can cover full load on the education, but you still have to work to be able to support yourself. And so they don't tell you that. They kind of tell you, oh, you got school paid for, but okay, well, am I going to live with my parents?
Yeah.
Or am I going to go into a bunch of school debt because of just dorms? So people don't think about that. They sell it as this big, exciting experience. And then when it comes time for you to separate, you're just kind of pulled the rug out from under your feet and hope you land on your feet. That's what my brother's afraid of. He's actually retiring this year. He's been in for 23 years, and he's scared shitless, because he's just been told what to do, where to be for 23 years. And now he's going to just come out and he's going to have his whole life, in his hands. And yes, he's going to receive retirement. He's going to have things going, but it's also come with a lot of bumps and scrapes along the way. His body is showing from all the stuff that he's been going through. And so it's just, he's 48 years old, about to come into the real world, or and have to make decisions for himself.
So, would you find civilian life more stressful, or does it just kind of come with its own problems, do you think?
I like the control, the ability that I have to make decisions for myself. I don't like how the military, that's the other aspect that I don't like, is that the military puts you in positions to where you can have a lot of things happen to you. And it really bothers me when they don't take care of those people that they've put into those positions. There's veterans around the world that are not doing well because of something they've experienced. And it's a struggle to get that care that they should receive. And so people dealing with that side of it is really difficult, but also getting that education going and getting a life going the way you want to. There's people that don't really fall into position because their life has gone on without them. Their friends during high school have gone to school, college, or have started their careers, and they're kind of in their lives. They've made relationships the way that you're supposed to instead of rushed to, and they've kind of settled into what their life is without this friend in their life. And so then you come back from the military and you kind of expect to jump back in, and it just doesn't work like that. And so, yes, absolutely, to answer your question, I'm sorry, I do think the civilian life has more freedoms. Of course, you don't get to travel like that, and you don't get to have the same experiences, but it's your decisions. It's your experiences. Instead of somebody saying, okay, I want you to go somewhere, and the catchphrase of going to interesting places and killing interesting people is, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And so, you can actually travel because you want to.
So you get to make your own decisions.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing. When you have that stripped away.
For so long, oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even basic training, when you start going there, and sure, you're meeting all these interesting people and new people and stuff, but when they start yelling at you because of just who you are, I mean, I know there's a process. It's tearing down the person you are to be able to be ready for the service, but it's still hard.
So where do you work now?
Currently, I'm at SRS, Savannah River Site, and they've got me in as an intern for mechanical engineering, which is the degree that I'm doing. And the idea is that I can, as a veteran, go out there and work and kind of work towards an eventual job there.
So what kind of work do you do?
We do rapid response repairs. I don't actually do the repairs, I actually plan them, and I work through the process of deciding if something will do the job that's required. And so somebody tells me there's a problem in a location, and they'll tell me what they need from it, and I have to kind of make sure that that will take care of the problem.
So what do you think the biggest difference between your job in the Air Force and the job you have now is?
Well, I can quit.
Well,
But
there's that, yeah.
there's the big thing, and I can change if I want to, or I can move along if I want to move to another area and stuff. Of course, it can be limiting, but just that option. And also the structure, it's not the good old boy system for the most part. You can kind of be in charge of your own future instead of being, if you have a bad supervisor in the military, you're stuck. I mean, where you have a bad supervisor here, you can quit. You can go to another place.
So you went to Augusta Technical College. Was that before or after?
That was after. In 2007, I was trying to use my benefits to try to switch careers and move on and do things that would get me along. And it was honestly a poor choice in school choice and the degree program that I was going to do. But it was still better than what I was doing. So it was it was a halfway point.
So is USCA very different from like the technical college?
Oh, absolutely. Being able to see both sides of it, the education is much more thorough here. While I have had professors that were extremely well performers as teaching aides, but at Augusta Tech, it's just the material seems more thorough. Which, I mean, that's just the big difference between a 2-year school and a 4-year school. Also, I feel like there's much more going on as far as preparing us for options. You know, you can go and talk to some kind of mentor that can get you in a career or going towards a possible career after the school.
So you think it was easier to come here after you'd already been to another school, or did that kind of make it more difficult?
Yes and no. Like I think that it was much easier to come in and hit the ground running because I've been to school and done that, and I'm also older, so I was a little bit more mature about my decisions. But the bad side of it was when I transferred credits in and I found out that those credits weren't worth anything. It was a horrible feeling, you know. Like, I'm old, and so I mean old as far as students go, and I feel like it was robbed time, or it was worthless, and so I hate that part about it.
Yeah. So why'd you pick USC Aiken?
Honestly, I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. I've always liked engineering, and that's the closest engineering program. My wife is a professor at Augusta University, and so we're kind of stuck in the area, and it's a good program. I like that it's an entry level to go to Columbia, which is a very good program as well. So here in another year, I'll be transferring up there.
Because my best friend does mechanical engineering.
Oh yeah.
So I know there's different types,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know what they're called.
Well, the
Why
different
did you
engineers
want
and
mechanical engineering instead of a different like?
Well, for me, when I was actually picking it out, I was working on cars. I've been in the automotive business for 15 years, and I like things that go fast. I'm a petrol head. I build race cars in my free time, and so I thought that it would be cool to be an engineer doing something like that, designing those parts that go fast. But as I've matured and gotten into the school and kind of planned my path, whereas if I was at a production style job or career, I might be working on making something that makes a car go fast or whatever, but I would be constantly rushed on time. And I would also be working all the time. Whereas now in my career, I am given plenty of time. I get lots of time off, and which is important to me. I want to spend time with my family.
So you said that you were married while you were serving,
Yes.
and you've been married after.
Yes, I've been married more than once. Yes.
So you think it made things more difficult being married, or did it kind of help?
In the military, I thought it helped a lot because you need that.
The consistency.
The consistency is a big part of it, and also a support structure. I mean, there are people, you can have friends and stuff in the military, but those people may be gone the next day, whether it's transferred to another base or job or whatever. But with having a spouse, honestly, it does come with stress and added problems. But when you come home from the day and you just want to talk about your day as much as you can with some jobs. My brother can't talk about his job at all, so that's kind of different problem.
Yeah. So, I guess, do you think going back to civilian life kind of put another strain on your relationship?
Oh, absolutely. But it was a strain that needed to happen. I mean, we were young when we got married, and we're honestly different people. I mean, we stayed together for 7 years, so it wasn't like it was just up and over right after. But you know, I don't fault her for having her stuff, and I'm glad that she's happy, and I'm happy as well. So I mean, it's one of those things that we don't stay in contact, and she's off doing her thing, and so it's all good.
And you have a kid now?
My wife, current wife, had a kid before we got married.
Okay.
And so he's 9 years old, and being a person that never felt like they needed to be a father, which is probably one of the things that I had problems with when I was previously married, was that I didn't have that maternal or paternal feeling of taking care of a baby, or just even having that little me running around. And this is a wonderful experience. My wife and her ex-husband are both professors, so education is extremely high on their agenda, and he's taken care of. They don't need me to raise him, so I'm just an added bonus. They call me the bonus dad.
So you claim him?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What if he decided to join the military? Would you be for it?
He's talked about it, and we are very big on him having his own choices. And I mean, he talks about it as being the soldier, and I want to go and shoot this and play with my Nerf guns and things like that. And I try to give him information, but obviously it's a little much right now.
For a 9-year-old, yeah.
Yeah. So I just try to tell him that he has the choice to do whatever he wants to do. And, education is a big drive. He's extremely smart, but I want him to make decisions off of something that he wants to do versus somebody telling him what to do.
So if he did say that he wanted to join the military, you think you'd kind of lean him towards the Air Force, or you'd just give him more information to kind of let him make an educated choice?
I'm fond of giving way too much information, so I would give him lots and lots and lots of information and sit down with him and make sure he understands the ins and the outs. Help him pick something that would actually be something that he expects. And I mean, I'm not a helicopter parent. I'm not a helicopter parent, and I try to keep my wife from taking that too far. But I mean, she's very caring and she's protective, and so there's just gonna be a point where you have to step away and let him make his decisions.
So what are your plans for after school?
I want to finish my degree and actually enjoy time away from having to have something going on all the time. Because right now it's like I get off work, I have to study. If I'm not working, I have to prepare for class or be at class. And I want to travel some more. We're traveling this summer to Armenia, and we're doing some big stuff. So we love to travel and get going. And that's kind of a big drive for us.
So many places have you been to?
A bunch.
Do you have a favorite?
I love Germany. Prague was amazing. I did that all at once, and that was an amazing trip. It was very inexpensive, and they're extremely hospitable, and you get to see so much history and so many things. Racing's a big thing for me. I got to drive on the Nürburgring, and so it was just, it was like a little kid in a candy store type thing. So.
Well, I think that's actually about all I got.
Okay, great.
Is there anything else you'd like people to know about you or the Air Force in general?
I don't regret my time in the military. There are decisions that I wish I had made or I wish I had thought about, of course, make some changes. But I really think it helped me mature and understand that when you make decisions for yourself, they have a lot more involvement. It's not just, I think I'll do this today. And, so I think it helped me kind of take advantage of stuff later and be more responsible of my time and other people's time. And so, when people ask me, anybody off the road or friends' kids wanting to join the military, I'm glad to sit down with them and just, again, give them too much information and try to be that person that can be a mentor or something that can help them make a decision that they want to do.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you.